In this world of spirits and monsters, people can unleash their soul potential to awaken various superpowers in themselves. They are strong enough to kill demons, some of which have wings on their backs or even 2 pairs of arms, and can destroy everything around. The awakened are collectively referred to as none other than heroes. The TV presenter pedantically broadcasts the news of the day from the TVs of tall buildings. The first event on the agenda: a guy driving a car killed a born melon seller. The authorities intervened in the investigation of this case. Then the presenter moves on to the next news. Grandmaster Ma challenged the king during the live broadcast and was defeated by the opponent in 1 move. In an interview, Grandmaster Ma claimed that the opposite side did not talk about generic martial arts and attacked surreptitiously. The third and last news for today: the incident with the attack on the needle store has been investigated. The criminal turned out to be an evil spirit. The accused has already been detained. The foothills of tall buildings, on which TV screens are lit, are lost in the streets of slums. Old unremarkable houses are built very close by, and between them there are tanks with slop, from which a half-naked guy jumps out with food scraps on his body and loudly declares that this world is crazy. This kid's name is Lin, and he just woke up in a dumpster. The rain clings to his shaggy blue hair, but he doesn't look like he's worried about being doused with sewage or even worried about the current situation. Other pop-items are invincible from the very beginning and have no equal. They are scary, threatening, and instill fear. However, Lin is not like that. He is a mediocrity without any talent, just a scum who was killed and thrown into the trash. The murder was committed by a group of 3 people who did not particularly regret what they had done. On the contrary, they were quite happy that Lin was lying lifeless and a bloody corpse under their feet. After his death, Lin ceased to be the handsome man he considered himself to be for most of his life. Unexpectedly, he was moved into a very shameful image. With tears of rage in his eyes, he promises that he will find his killer, because such a nasty person like him, who dared to take away Lin's beauty, must surely be dead. Some sounds distract him from planning the murder. Turning around, the guy notices a man who relieves himself on the wall of the house. Suddenly, he loudly crunches his head and turns his head, whose face only vaguely resembles a human one. The eyes are bulging, like a madman's. The capillaries turn red, as if the stranger had been taking drugs for a long time, and the strangest thing was that a long, pointed, completely human tongue stretched out of his mouth. The stranger smells fresh human flesh. When Lin hears the words about the smell, he is horrified and asks what the hell is going on here, and snot flies out of his nose from too violent a reaction. He becomes completely ridiculous. Wearing only breeches, Lin runs away from him, but quickly drives himself into a dead end. The monster opens its cruciform mouth with a bunch of teeth inside and asks to jump right into his mouth. Somebody save me. A red chopper, similar to the wings of a dragonfly, only sharp, cuts off the head from the shoulders of the monster just at the moment when he was ready to eat the poor guy. Black clots, similar to blood, are flying at Lin, but he is too amazed by the sight before his eyes to pay attention to such trifles. The monster evaporates like a cloud of steam, and not even a wet spot remains from it. And the red chopper, which turned out to be a long forked sword, returns to the hand of the hostess who approached, a tall lady in a red dress. She coquettishly calls Lin her little brother, and he thanks her for saving him. The girl leans over the guy, bites her lower lip, and playfully asks if she is beautiful. Lin is at a loss. Are all the girls in this world so proactive? However, he does not hesitate with the answer and looks at her with heart-shaped eyes, saying that the stranger is simply magnificent. Her lips stretch into a wide smile, and the lady's face becomes not so beautiful. The pupils are covered with black, and the teeth suddenly turn out to be sharp, like a shark's. Is she still beautiful? Lin is absolutely terrified. Why was it a monster again? He hoped for salvation from the beautiful heroine who came to his aid. The guy almost fell in love with her. The stranger puts her hand on her bare chest and, licking Lin's cheek with her tongue, demands an answer from her younger brother as soon as possible. Although the hero feels himself on the verge of death, the feelings are simply unreal. The girl's plump chest rests against him. However, now is not the time to think about women's charms. It is more important to figure out how to stay alive and not die a second time. He shivers, considering his options. If she says she's beautiful, she'll definitely cut her throat. If she says she's ugly, she'll kill you right away. Did Lin have a choice at all? Too much time passes, and the lady decides to answer for him. She takes her sword, which has shrunk to the size of scissors, and presents it to the guy's open mouth. Lin is in mortal danger again, and not even 5 minutes have passed between the first and second incident. The system message lights up, burning red as a warning sign. It has been detected that the carrier is in danger, and the divine choice system has been successfully linked. Time stops, and Lin notices that she can't move a single part of her body. The system gives him 3 options to choose from. 1. Run away immediately, but the monster girl will chase. The reward will be a powerful pill that strengthens the strength tenfold. 2. Kneel down to beg for mercy, and satisfy any request of the girl. Reward for this task, a cleansing pill that awakens the physical abilities of an S-class talent. 3. If Lin dies under the lips of this beautiful girl, then let him do it without regrets. The reward for this round of the task is a random set of supernatural SSS class abilities. So this is the legendary system. Lin has been playing games for many years, and then considers the third one to be the best choice to get a bigger profit. The window lights up. System restrictions have been removed. The carrier is invited to complete the task. This is Lin's first kiss, but it wasn't. Grabbing the stranger by the shoulders, he gently kisses her, and when they pull away, the girl's face no longer expresses a desire to kill. It looks like a human again. She mumbles about not being clean anymore and turns away from Lin. Standing with her back to him, the lady tells him her name, Hong Yi. The girl promises Lin to definitely come back. A blue whirlwind of maple leaves gathers around her, and she leaves the guy alone. In the meantime, the system praises the hero for completing the task and starts a reward system. Since the SSS class ability will be chosen randomly, then you need to shout a lottery chant into the sky. May thunder break the darkness. The sky is illuminated by a flurry of terrible lightning. Overcoming the fear of being shamed for such childish words in the middle of the street, Lin raises his index finger up and shouts a chant into the sky. Lightning bolts are moving on Lin, and now he stands in the very center of them, like a god descended from heaven. His eyes are burning with delight. Lightning bolts pierce his entire body, but it doesn't look like the guy is in pain. People from the streets nearby see this glowing pillar and are already standing with their phones ready to film this natural phenomenon on cameras. Is it really the devil coming down from heaven? A red-haired woman looks at the storm that has appeared, although she is not completely sure that this is a natural phenomenon. She lights a cigarette and reflects on the fact that there is actually someone who has awakened S-class abilities or even higher. As far as she knows, only one person in Kanglan City has reached such a high level. But who is it this time? Could it be that this is a descendant of that guy? After a few minutes, the storm disappears, and the rain continues to flood the gray and gloomy Kanglan street. Lin is sitting on his knees. The remnants of lightning are still flashing in the air around him. The system congratulates the wearer on receiving the Kai-Yu ability. The guy, raising his hand, looks at how it is covered with a purple haze. Is this his supernatural power? Kai-Yu can supplement the power of the carrier. It will also be possible to gradually unlock other parts of the ability. According to the memories of Lin's new body, the limits of strength in this world are S-class. In that case, he will become invincible. A mad gleam of joy lights up Lin's gaze, and he clenches his fist, in which an invincible superpower is now splashing. Lin laughs like a madman. With the SSS class ability, he will be able to become a boss by climbing to the top of this world. The guy already imagines how he is sitting in an armchair on the beach in an expensive suit, and beautiful girls in swimsuits walk around him, who bring cocktails and snacks at a wave of his hand. The mere thought of such fame gives you goosebumps. From the sweet dreams of Lin, a red alert from the system pulls out, "Attention! A strong demon has been discovered nearby. Please leave the place as soon as possible." Oh, again. Without even turning around to look at the demon, who looks like a black cloud with red eyes, the guy runs from him as fast as he can. Even after receiving the ability, he is still too weak, so it's better not to get into trouble. Escape is also a kind of victory. The enemy may consider it a sign of respect. After pushing the floor with his slippers for half an hour, Lin Kuei finally got home. Stopping at his porch, the guy looks at a truly luxurious mansion, which probably costs at least 10 million. Lin comes to such a mansion for the first time, and therefore he is slightly nervous. He tries to calm himself down. His loved ones are probably inside. Kuei opens the door and a little pink-haired girl with 2 long tails is already waiting for him outside. She rubs her hand over her eye, apparently just woke up, and asks her brother why he walked around for so long. The guy has almost forgotten that he also has a younger sister on the estate of Lin's eye, whom he affectionately calls Seer. The remnants of sleep are thrown off the girl when she notices that the older one seems to be injured. But there is no reason to worry. Kuei is justified by the fact that he just slipped on a wet road. CR makes a decoction of ginger tea for his brother, and before that he puts a plaster on his face. Kuei puts down the cup with the decoction on the table and stirs up the memories of the new body. He is a child who was adopted by the Lin family. After the death of his adoptive parents, the guy lived with his older sister Hua and younger C. Both girls were endowed with incredible intelligence and talent to break out into the world. Only Kwe turned out to be garbage, all his life only receiving sarcastic ridicule from people. 3 years ago, Lin Hua, thanks to her data, was selected for the Department of Superpowers and therefore, because of her busy schedule, she is rarely at home. The care of the younger sister fell on the middle brother. The last Kwe was completely hopeless, he couldn't even take care of himself, let alone take care of the child, and he was indifferent to the feelings of the younger one. The current Kwe regrets such an attitude towards a relative, she is so good. After drinking the decoction, the elder Lin spits it out almost immediately. Someone bursts into the living room screaming, clearly demanding the guy's head to be cut off. Wiping the drops, he looks at the one who dared to break into his house so barbarously and scare him. The guest turns out to be Chu Juniao, a childhood friend, if the youthful memory does not change the host. The girl, pointing her index finger at him in an accusatory gesture, asks how he had the audacity to return home. This morning he confessed his love to her in front of the whole class through a loudspeaker. Kwe had disgraced her. Juniao demands an immediate explanation. The guy is pierced by a guess. Are the confession to the girl and his murder behind the school somehow connected? Although first you should deal with the guest, and only then think about the rest. Kwe lifts her chin and sticks her little finger in her nose. Did a childhood friend take it all seriously? She's a real bitch. Enraged, Juniao clenches her fists and kicks him backhand. But Lin, unfortunately, the girl deftly dodges, so also notices her underwear. What a shame. Carefully getting to her feet, the guest blushes and begins to get mad at him more than ever. When Juniao wants to attack a second time, so that now he will definitely knock the impudent man to the shoulder blades, Lin's younger sister suddenly stands between them and orders her not to make a fuss and stay away from her older brother. Then the guest crosses her arms over her chest and says with a snort that she will not descend to the level of a child. The little mistress just clicks on it. As he leaves, Juniao reminds Kwe about tomorrow's aptitude tests. Only students of C grade and above are eligible to enter the Kanglin Academy. She proudly says that she has long awakened the ability of a class in herself and secured a place in the academy. For people like Juniao, all doors are open. The girl does not miss the opportunity to humiliate an old friend, colorfully tells how he will remain at the bottom, having entered a third-rate university, and will be like an ordinary person. Oh, so, like an ordinary person. How could he, Lin Kwe, who had awakened the SSS class ability, be an ordinary person? Here the hero is again given a system task with actions to choose from. 1. Keep silent. Reward, plus 2k dexterity. 2. Apologize to Chu Juniao and admit that she was right. Reward, plus 10k to strength. 3. Disagree with Chu Juniao and swear to awaken the ability at all costs. Reward, 5 to strength. And although the reward in the second choice undoubtedly looks tempting, pride will not allow you to agree to such a thing. Kwe loudly declares that he will not only awaken the ability, but also enter the Kanglin Academy. The girl is incredibly angry from such a brazen statement. The guy praises himself for how pathetically he said it and receives his well-deserved reward from the system. Juniao turns out not to be particularly impressed. To throw words around every master, but to get real strength is more important and more difficult. Kwe promises that she will regret what she said. The only one who took the hero's words seriously was Lin Zai. She encourages him and believes that he will succeed. Later, when a light breeze blew into the room through the thin white tulle, and Kwe was sleeping sweetly on his bed by the window, maple leaves marked the arrival of Hong Yi. She lies down next to Kwe and gently strokes his chin. This fool will have to take responsibility for stealing her first kiss. In the morning, the elder Lin runs away from home, taking breakfast with him in his teeth. CR wishes him good luck, and he tells her to be sure that he will pass the aptitude test. For the younger Lin, her brother is the coolest, he will not let their older sister down. While Kyoj runs through the streets, devouring his food, he remembers that he dreamed that he slept with that demoness, Hong Yi. It's so strange. Everything was so realistic, as if in reality. Students arrive at Kanglin High School. Participants of the ability exam are asked to enter the site in order. Juniao sits in a spacious auditorium with 2 guards behind and calls the students who have come a herd. From a group of noisy students, Kwe is knocked out with the question whether the aptitude exam is being held here. He touches the shoulder of a tall blonde man with his hand, who immediately pulls his hand away with a yell so that Lin does not touch him. The blonde man, turning to Kwe, is surprised to recognize him and realizes that for some reason Lin is not dead yet. Kue clarifies the name of this blonde man. Yang Xiao, isn't it? Yang Xiao looks at Kue with dislike, and he remembers that they were some kind of rivals for Chu Juniao's heart. Most likely, he was the one who sent those guys to Lin Kue. Oh, he won't get away with it for sure. A stern-looking man in square glasses announces that the exam is starting. Today will determine their future. Only students with the ability of C grade and above will be able to enter the Kanglin Academy. There is a request to take this exam seriously. The examiner calls the first examinee Wang Xiaoming. The student comes out trembling. He's the first, he can't disgrace himself. Xiaoming with tightly closed eyes puts his hand on the blue glowing sphere. A frying pan, an F-class item, appears on the screen behind him. The exam is not passed. Xiaoming's jaw drops to the floor. He is followed by two more guys who also leave in tears because of the complete failure. The students sitting in the audience laugh when they see toilet paper on the screens of one of the people handing over. It's Yang Xiao's turn. Behind him sits a support group that shouts out declarations of love to him. Yang Xiao boldly touches the sphere and, wow, there's a hellhound on the screen and a class beast. However, is there anything surprising in this? It's Yang Xiao. Juniao didn't think that this guy would raise his strength and awaken a class ability. The female fans sitting in front of her are praising Yang Xiao. Lin Kue is called next. The girl is surprised that he really came to the exam. With a face that is already triumphant, Kue goes on stage to prove himself. So the main boss came. The guys at the desks are laughing. Everyone knows that he really is worthless trash without abilities and talents. Yang Xiao looks on disdainfully as Lin Kue's trash takes the stage to say goodbye to the last drops of dignity. Lin Kue perceives the audience's attention quite differently. They probably think he's handsome. That's why they're watching. He even bows in appreciation, which causes the examiner to look displeased. The man with glasses awkwardly points out that Kue's fly is unbuttoned, and he quickly turns away to correct this oversight. The fly is not the main thing. The main thing is the ability of Kue. Lin asks to get rid of all prejudices and arrogance. The moment of his glory is coming. Kue boldly puts his hand on the ball. Everyone in the audience freezes with their mouths open. Now they understood who Lin Kue was. While the flawed FFF class is burning on the screen, the guy calls himself Daddy with the SSS class ability, standing in a proud pose. The examiner checks something in his sheet and says that the ability is completely flawed, and the application is unknown. Lin turns to the screen in shock, and the noise is already starting to rise in the room. Well, the jokes went with this guy. Yang Xiao says that Kue did not disappoint him. To a poor person, a poor ability. Let him not even think of approaching Chu Juniao. But after all, Kue tried his best. There must be some mistake here. When Lin grabs his head in complete despair, a woman's hands suddenly fall on his cheeks, and someone's voice says that he clearly needs help. Before he has time to turn around, the demoness in a whirlwind of maple leaves grabs the guy from behind. She came here to give Kue a helping hand. As Kue stands in Hongyi's arms, the potential of his ability begins to grow. What a high speed. The examiner sweats to announce that this is a completely new record, the potential of the S-class ability. If he is not mistaken, then the owners of such potential, with due diligence and training, can reach a class and higher. Almost everyone, except Juniao, who looks extremely pleased, finds it hard to believe. Did Lin cheat? The examiner says that although he has the ability of the FFF class, however, Kue has the potential of the S class, which is 1 in a million, so we can assume that Lin has passed. The guy victoriously raises his hands to the top and promises to become the strongest in the future. 10 minutes later, at the waiting place for the participants of the second stage of the exams, Yang Xiao passes by Kue, not forgetting to call him a scum who, even with such a high potential, will not cease to be him. We still have to pass the second stage of the exam, in which Lin has no chance. With a nasty little smile, Kue says how much there is a smell of envy from Xiao, so jealous of his strength. Yang jumps up to Kue, grabbing him by the collar of his shirt, asking how a trash like him can be envied. If he really has the power, then let Lin show it. The system gives Kue a choice of what to do in this situation. Ignore Yang Xiao, hit Yang Xiao hard or hug him to resolve everything amicably. Lin, almost without thinking, chooses the second one and punches the guy's beautiful face with his fist. Xiao asks to hit him, and how could Kue ignore his request? The reward for completing the task is +3 to strength. The new round of the dispute is not allowed to flare up by a combative-looking girl who reminds that the second stage will begin soon, and if students want to get to it, then they should follow her. A chevron with the Tench emblem is sewn on her jacket, as Lin notices. That means she's from the Shaolin Academy. Students ride buses on a mountain road in the suburb of Kanglin. The combat girl is introduced by the name Su Tan, She is a senior student of the Kanglin Academy, and concurrently their current examiner. The second stage of the exam is extremely important. Those who pass will be able to immediately enter the academy and become official students. Kwe, apparently, does not delve into Tang's words much. He is much more interested in her legs and a thin waist that are not hidden by short shorts. Su quickly notices his look, and Lin quickly realizes that things are bad with her. The bus driver, entering the tunnel, notices creatures flying out of there, which cannot be recognized in any way. They crash into the glass of the transport and beat it, and the driver cannot cope with the controls. Buses stop, one even flips over. Panic rises inside them, and flying creatures resembling bats continue to circle above them. Kwe gets out of the overturned bus and angrily asks what overturned the bus. He looks at the flying animals and can't understand where there are so many of them. The guy is completely dissatisfied with what is happening. Sutan is menacingly interested in what is going on here. They haven't arrived at the exam venue yet. Is she really not aware of what is happening? The girl rushes at the monsters and orders everyone to stick together. We need to deal with these creatures. She is followed by other students with weapons in their hands and a war cry. Kwe is just coming down to earth. They just went into battle. Something is definitely wrong here. Yan, standing next to him, threatens that this time Lin is definitely the end. A monster flies at him, which Zio immediately catches with one hand. He shouts that he has a gift for Kwe and throws the creature towards him with force. He abruptly turns around and kicks the monster, asking to keep this thing for himself. To the side, Su Tang fights in the air with several monsters at once, deftly parrying their blows and attacking with lightning speed in response. The fight ends with the victory of the girl, and the students below admire their examiner. But no sooner does one attack end than the second begins. The ground under your feet begins to shake and it becomes very difficult to stand on your feet. Suddenly, thick chains fly past Kwe, which in the next instant grab him and several other students by the arms and ankles, lifting them into the air. One of the students starts calling for help, terrified just to death. Others silently struggle with the chains, resisting with all their might. Out of nowhere, a biker with a mask on the top of his face appears, holding a short chain in his hands. There is just a terrible atmosphere in the air. Leaving the bike behind, the man says something, but his speech is half English and it is unrealistic to make it out. He approaches the bound girl and approaches her face in a completely indecent manner, again saying something in another language. A guy nearby shouts that this guy should not dare to touch his girlfriend, and the bandit's gaze now turns to him. The stranger approaches the student and says that since it is impossible to touch her, he will take advantage of this boy. He seems to have been only pretending all this time that he doesn't understand their language. Sutan does not let the student be harmed. She rushes into battle. Kwe, still suspended, asks to be untied, but the examiner does not hear him. She rushes at the biker and wishes him to die as soon as possible. But the stranger's flail repels the attack and throws the girl back. Too slow. Su Tang falls right into Kwe's arms. The hero always appears at the most critical moment and of course, the hero of the day will be Lin Kwe. The time of the system task. Kwe chooses the third option, in which it is proposed to defeat the monster and save everyone. The reward is 1 shard of ability improvement. Another guy nearby asks what kind of nonsense Lin is talking there. Kwe clenches his hand into a fist, and it begins to glow blue. Lin is here to defeat boss of the gym. Someone is trying to stop Lin. This is a B-class demon. How is a weak person like Kwe going to defeat him? But nothing will stop the guy on the way to fame and universal recognition. At full speed, he jumps at the opponent, putting his fist forward. The biker swears in English and, without much difficulty, swings his chain, aiming at the guy's face. The hanging students, although they are in distress, cannot hide the shock and disappointment on their faces. What kind of fool is Lin Kwe? The guy flies beautifully because of the strong blow of the biker and then Hongyi appears above him, affectionately calling him a fool. She says he didn't understand anything. Gently holding onto Kwe's hand, Hongyi explains to him that he needs to concentrate and gather all the spiritual energy in his right hand. Lin rejoices, that's the secret of strength. A couple is floating in the air, and there seems to be no one around them. The girl's face is too close to Lin's face, and he begins to worry inadvertently that she is going to kiss him. But he's a man. He has to take the initiative into his own hands. Kwe pulls his lips to Hongyi, and she freezes either from showing such impudence, or from the fact that the moment is not the most appropriate, right in the middle of the fight. And she harshly reminds where Lin is, summoning her terrifying demonic face, growls at him and sends him into battle. Kwe is horrified by how quickly Hongyi has turned from a cute diva into a monster worse than those who attacked the students just now. A voice pulls Lin out of his dream world, and he is surprised to discover that he seems to have been out all this time. The students ask him to help them first, and only then to die, since he wanted to do it so much. The biker is not a little happy about the fact that Lin is starting to move. He will beat someone. Hui is no longer up to jokes and showing off. It's time to get serious. As Hong Yi taught, he collects spiritual energy in his right hand to the laughter of his acquaintances that he continues to pretend to be a hero, although in fact he is still garbage. The bandit zigzags his chain in the direction of Kwe, and Su Tang, who has already woken up, shouts to him about the approaching danger. Even Yang Xiao can't help but sympathize. Now Lin has definitely come to an end. However, he does something that strikes the minds of everyone. Kwe just takes and catches the iron links with his hands, asking the opponent how much porridge he ate. The biker freezes in shock. No one has ever managed to stop him so easily. Lin shouts at the bandit to go straight into his defeating hands and pulls the chain back to bring the opponent closer to him. His entire right fist burns with a blue glow. It's time to end this. Pulling back the links, Lin abruptly releases them, thereby hitting them directly into the thug's chest. Defeat with one blow. Su Tan can't take his eyes off. How did this guy become so strong in such a short time? Yang Xiao is furious behind her. Such trash shouldn't have gotten such power. However, suddenly the biker, instead of being defeated by the hero, turns out to be unharmed. He notices that it turned out to be pretty good. Lin managed to beat the blood out of him. You can't say anything. The biker decides to try a different way, sits down at his motorcycle and puts on the gas in the direction of Lin. Hui is lost. With a shout, he runs back, forcing the bandit to come to an indescribable delight from the taste of victory. The wheels of his striker leave a wide strip on the asphalt next to Lin, showing how well he owns the road and how perfect he is in drift. The man directs the chain, wanting to grab or hit Lin with it, but it immediately breaks under Su Tan's well-aimed blows. For her, it's a mere trifle, and she asks to leave the biker to her. Now that the bandit's attention is focused on the girl, he does not notice that Kwe climbs into the seat behind him, who immediately clasps the man's naked torso with his hands so as not to fall off the moped. Lin mockingly speaks to him in English and thereby causes the biker's face distorted with discontent. Su Tan guesses the moment when the driver will not look at her and hits the wheels of the bike. The bandit and the motorcycle fly in different directions. Besides, he suddenly runs out of energy. Well, instead of just dealing with this group of inept students, he would have to die with them, taking them to the grave. A glowing ball is gathering on the man's chest, which is getting brighter every second, already more like a bomb ready to explode. So it is. Su Tang pushes Kwe further, ordering him to run. The bomb explodes, forming a huge fiery cloud. Other students besides the examiner and Kwe, she was hurt, although these two are nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, two silhouettes appear from behind the smoke, in which you can easily recognize Lin walking proudly and Su Tan holding on to him. Unlike the guy, the girl looks pretty rumpled. The skin is bruised, the clothes are torn in some places. Kwe only has a little soot on his face. Students react differently to the appearance of Lin. Someone is glad that he saved them all, and someone is dissatisfied with the fact that he really thinks he is a hero now. While no one hears them, Kwe reminds Su Tang that she was hit in the chest, so maybe she should help with a massage. The girl reacts to this unequivocally, asks Lina to go far away. After a few minutes, when the examiner is no longer around, the girls cling to Lin like bees to honey and openly admire his strength. Not far away, so that you can hear everything, is Yang Xiao, burning in the fire of his own envy. Hui receives a system message that he has received a reward, one shard of ability improvement, which cannot but raise the mood bar even higher. However, as the guy reminds himself, modesty is the highest virtue. If he allows himself to be petty, he will become a handsome bastard in the future. Meanwhile, students pay attention to an object flying in the sky. The drone with the camera informs that the second stage is completed. Was this attack planned from the very beginning? The drone explains that the second stage was aimed at practical skills, while the camera recorded who showed themselves. Those who have shown valor officially become students of the Kanglin Academy. Surprisingly, the one who first bursts into an angry tirade becomes Su Tan. No one warned her, and she, by the way, is an examiner. As it turns out, the Academy did so in order to create a realistic environment. Besides, everything would have been explained to her later. Without straying far from the case, the student who scored the most points becomes Lin Kwe, who immediately quietly begins to say, picking his nose, that nothing special happened. Students who recently called the guy worthless garbage and laughed at the top of their lungs lift him into the air, starting to throw him in their arms and say how cool he is. Su Tan looks at it from the outside and analyzes his future. The guy hid a lot of potential in himself, and if he enters, He will shake the whole academy in the future. In the evening, Lin returns home with a victory where he is met with eyes burning with joy by Seer, who immediately asks him if he has passed. Hue proudly admits that the girl has the coolest brother, so, of course, he passed. Moreover, he has the ability, and he entered the Kanglin Academy. But suddenly the joy for a relative is overshadowed by an unexpected thought. Does Hue's admission to the academy mean that he will leave home and go to study? The elder Lin does not notice his sister's sad face at all. Dancing, he climbs the stairs and promises Zai to call Hue to share the news. Standing at the open window in his room, Hue tells the elder about what he has done. Hue doesn't have much time to talk. She only mentions that if her father were alive, he would certainly be proud of his adopted son, and she hopes that her brother will not stop there, and then hurriedly drops it.